Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Fantasy Intervention. It is Tuesday afternoon. I apologize for my appearance. I am going to be covering for Chase today as he had another appointment, and we are going to go over your waiver wire. Now, you might be wondering, why am I looking at a guy wearing a gator right now? Well, thanks to Kirk Cousins and his pathetic performance against the horrible Seattle defense, I had to get rid of my beard. And on Wednesday's show, we are going to be doing a live mustache reveal Wednesday at 8 p.m. with our special guest, BZB. In order to not ruin that surprise, we're going to have my face covered for this entire episode. So I would give it about a 70% chance that I might pass out mid-episode, come to and bring you all your waiver wire goodness for the upcoming week 6. So as Chase always does, we are going to cover our standouts from this past weekend, the fool's gold, people I'm not wasting my fab on, and then the remainder of the under 60% owned priority list by position to make sure that you know who you should be picking up, who you should be spending your fab on, and who you should be leaving for the people who are not paying that close of attention. So what I want to do is I want to jump right into what was an incredible week 6. Man, it was wild, some of the stuff that we saw, some of the people that jumped out, some of the numbers that came up. And let's talk about the two names that is literally on the tip of everybody's tongue, and that is Chase Claypool and Travis Fulgham. So I looked at these two, and man, you want to talk about games. These weren't small games by any measure. These were monster performances. And let's start with the rookie from Notre Dame. Anybody who looks at the box score can see 7 catches, 110 yards, and 3 touchdowns receiving. He threw another one in rushing just for the hell of it and blew out what Odell Beckham's wide receiver one performance was the week before. What you didn't see if you didn't watch the game was we also had a ticky-tack offensive PI call on the sideline that took away a 40-yard touchdown, would have made this even bigger. Absolutely insane. This kid is a monster, an absolute beast. Chase called it on his DFS show. I would love to say I did the same, but in fact, I went Eric Ebron like an idiot and blew that call. At least one of us got it right for you. Hopefully you were listening to that DFS podcast and got him in your lineups. But he absolutely exploded. Now, what I'm looking for from him moving forward is to kind of go back to what he's been, boom or bust, big-time play. He has a bunch of people that are competing for targets, not someone that I think is going to be an every week play, but an absolute star in dynasty leagues. Anywhere that you can get him, where you might have a cheap keeper option, we can keep him in a low-round pick. This is where we're looking for this guy, but not sure he's our top option. Let's take a look at our other option, which is Travis Fulgham. Fulgham came up as the next man up for Philadelphia. He's a second-year man out of Old Dominion. He put up some numbers in college. He's been bouncing around from practice squads, finally got his shot, and he did not disappoint for the second week in a row. 10 for 152 and a touchdown on 13 targets, coming down with everything. This kid was high-pointing the ball. He was making some massive, massive cuts, putting cornerbacks in the dust. He was huge, and Wentz could not take his eyes off of this kid. I think he played himself into a starting role moving forward. I think he's an absolute ball player. I think he's going to put up numbers moving forward. And that is why between the two, Fulgham is my number one waiver priority this week. I'm looking at probably putting, I'd say 25% of my fab on this guy, more like 15 to 20 on Chase Claypool. The reason for it is Claypool did it with a perfect matchup against a terrible defense. They haven't been able to cover tall, big wideouts and tight ends. He did it with Deontay Johnson, the preseason darling, out of the game. This is a kid who has a lot more to compete against. When we look at Fulgham, you're talking about a 50-year-old Deshaun Jackson, Alshon Jeffrey, who is an absolute disaster of a injury-prone guy, Zach Ertz, who's a shadow of himself, and then obviously Dallas Goedert, who was out with the ankle injury. So I'm going to go sustainability. That's Fulgham for me. He's the guy that I'm looking at. For Claypool, like I said, maybe 15 to 20% of my fab if I'm looking at redraft. My guess is you might have someone else that's going to overpay for him. but this is somebody who is going to be competing for targets, more boom or bust, where I see Fulgham as more sustainable. Now, for all you box score watchers, you're going to see a couple people that came down with touchdowns that we're going to say is fool's gold. These are the people you want the rest of your league to be looking at, and you don't want to be giving any fab into these two players. The first is my man, Rashard Higgins. This name pops up, I think it feels like every year since 2010, for God's sake. He just shows up for a game or two. Now, what he did, 3 catches, 31 yards, and a touchdown. He did it on 3 targets, and there is no way you're getting that efficiency ever again. He's the 5th option at best on a decent passing offense. This is somebody that I have no desire to put on, even in my deep leagues, just not someone I'm going to pay for. There's going to be someone that is going to pop up, and they're going to want to grab somebody that had those 15 PPR points and say, hey, let's go with this guy. He's not the guy for you. Leave him alone. The second one that we're looking at is Will Dissly. Everybody loves Will Dissly. Everyone loves a good comeback story. We had a great one this weekend that we'll cover in a minute. Everybody absolutely loves Will Dissly, but he's coming off of a major knee injury. If his one catch wasn't in the end zone, you wouldn't have heard of him whatsoever. It was only a 15-yard catch, 17-yard, I believe. One catch on 37% snap share. Greg Olsen is still getting 83% of the snaps in this game for this team at tight end. He's just not somebody that I think I want to spend money on. I wish the best for him. I think it's absolutely somebody that I'd be looking at moving forward as an option, maybe next year when he shows he's fully recovered. But for this year, just leave him where he is. There's absolutely no reason to want to play Will Dissly as a fab person this week, as any waiver wire priority. He's just not rosterable at this point. So let's take a look here at some of the comments. One of the questions here was why I'm wearing a mask. Kirk Cousins forced me to have to shave my beard, something I've been completely in love with for a long time now, and it's gone. In order not to ruin the reveal, we are going to do a full reveal tomorrow, Wednesday at 8 p.m. to show what a fat Freddie Mercury fantasy analyst would look like. That's going to be this face right here. I used to be beautiful. I am hideous now. We just don't want to ruin that. Taking a look at a question here, let's go to Facebook user. Again, guys, and I think Chase covers this each time. I can't see your name unless you register with the StreamYard app. So right now we're coming up as Facebook user, so I apologize. I can't address you by name. But the first question we have is, should I trade Gallup for Crowder in a 0.5 point PPR? And this is a great question, actually. Unbelievable question. Both which arrows are pointing way up. Crowder has been a PPR beast. He's been doing 100 yards every game that he's been healthy. He's been grabbing everything. But Gallup and Dalton seem to have that connection. Once Prescott went down, Dalton was looking Gallup's way. He made that incredible catch on the sidelines. So in this case, the best advice I can give you is, if you need stability, if you are looking for those guaranteed 10 to 15 points a week, I'd grab Crowder. If you think that you're looking for those boom potential, top wide receiver one for the week, I'd be looking at Gallup. He's more of a boom or bust play. On my team where I'm risk averse, I'd be taking Crowder here, but it's a lot closer with Dalton under center than it would be if Prescott was still there. So moving on to our waiver pickups for this week. And let's start with people that are owned in under 60% of ESPN leagues that should be rostered. We just touched upon this. The number one name of quarterbacks is Andy Dalton. Man, I couldn't feel worse for Dak Prescott. You're talking about a guy who has seemingly done everything right. He has been a leader for that team, and to see him go down with that gruesome injury, I couldn't feel worse. Obviously, we want Dak to get healthy as soon as possible, have an illustrious career as he was on his way to doing. But we do have to move on with this season, and we're moving on with the Red Rifle, Andy Dalton. The fact that there's a quarterback out there loaded with weapons that is somehow in first place in the NFC East, despite being under 500. This is an absolutely dream scenario for anybody who is quarterback needy. He could be playing for a shot at being the franchise quarterback with the Cowboys. I don't think so. I think they'll bring back Dak, but this is a guy who's playing for his job. I would say I am completely emptying the clip in our Superflex leagues, 2 quarterback leagues, absolutely blowing everything on this guy. You don't get this type of gold. If you need a quarterback in a 1 quarterback league, there's obviously a lot out there. Dalton's your pick. I never go more than 10 to 15% on quarterback. I just think there's too many of them to go huge in a 1 quarterback league. But absolutely starter moving forward. You're throwing to Amari, Lamb, Gallup. You have Zeke out of the backfield. You have Dalton Schultz. He's going to put up numbers. He's your grab at quarterback first and foremost. Next, we have Derek Carr. Now, Derek Carr is not going to make your roster any sexier unless you go ahead and take those jean jacket pictures and make them your avatar. Those were hot as hell. He's Derek Carr. No one feels great about putting him on your roster. However, he is putting up massive points. Double digits every week with crazy efficiency. We're talking 11 touchdowns with only 1 interception. He has multiple touchdowns every week but week 1. And in his last 2 weeks, he has gone over 300 yards. This kid's putting up numbers. He has weapons now. You saw what Ruggs did. We'll cover him in a minute. We're going to have Edwards coming back. All of a sudden, Al Galore looks like he can catch. And Darren Waller is just a stud at tight end. This is a guy who you want on your roster. This is a back-end QB1 who's sitting out there for free. Go ahead and grab him and put him on your roster immediately, and I think he's an easy start. I got stuck starting him this week and couldn't have been happier. I was a little risk-averse with Josh Allen in one of my leagues. I played him in all the others because I love the guy, but plugged him in, huge points. Absolutely monster game for him. So go ahead and pick him up as your number 2 option behind Andy Dalton. Again, maybe 5 to 10%. I'm not spending a ton in 1 quarterback leagues. Should already be rostered in 2 quarterback, but if he's not, you're talking 60 to 70% to get this guy up there. Massive upside with these new weapons. I think Derek Carr is going to be the man to stay. All of those preseason rumors about Mariota proved to be a joke. No concerns there. At the running back position, we have 3 people who are looking to play their way to the front of a committee. The first one at 54.3% rostership is Justin Jackson. We were all over Joshua Kelly. We all were. I grabbed him in every league I could. And what happened last night was that Jackson outsnapped, outtouched, out-targeted, and outproduced Josh Kelly. This is a committee backfield, so let's not get confused with that. But Jackson has shown the ability to take the Eckler role, while Kelly's going to stay in his pre-Eckler injury goal line back, change of pace role for the time being. I think what you saw was Jackson had a little better giddy up through the hole. Kelly has shown some ability to fumble in big times. I think Jackson's a guy you want to get on your roster at this point, knowing full right well that you're not going to get the goal line carries. That's still going to be Kelly moving forward. Jackson's going to get you those nice points, and especially in PPR leagues, he's going to put up some numbers for you. The second one, we had a 1-week delay in his return. That is Phillip Lindsay coming off of that turf toe injury. Lindsay is looking to put up numbers against the Patriots, who lost their top 2 run stoppers. Both opted out from COVID. That was Hightower and Chung. And I think he's going to put up some numbers. So I think this is the last time you're going to be able to get him on the cheap. He's currently at 58% rostered. I think with 1 week return from COVID, Melvin Gordon, despite last week's big performance, has been Melvin Gordon, kind of that plotter, if you will. I think Lindsay's the most explosive back. My friend Linda has been telling you all along she's the biggest Broncos fan. She thinks that Lindsay's the guy who comes out of this backfield, and I tend to agree. It's still going to be a committee, but I think Lindsey's going to get a lot of run and be that guy that you were hoping for prior to when they signed Melvin Gordon. Someone's going to be able to put 9 to 15 points a game. I think he's going to take a large amount of touches away from MG3, and he's the guy that you want on your roster, just sitting out there for a cheap running back in a position that is absolutely, completely thin. Gordon is terrible, Bo. I agree 100%. Huge waste of money. I know they spent the dollars on him. They're going to want to give him a shot. I think Lindsey outplays him. I think by the end of the year, you could have yourself a running back, too, that you could put in confidently each and every week. Speaking of terrible running backs, Kenyon Drake is an absolute disaster right now. He could not look worse. And Chase Edmonds is outplaying him at every single opportunity. At 46.5% owned, Edmonds should be jumping up by next week to probably the mid-90s. He is the better of the two Arizona backs. He broke off a big run, caught 5 passes against the Jets, and unlike his counterpart, did not need garbage time to actually put up numbers. Drake needed 19 touches to get 62 yards and a touch. Edmonds did 92 yards and 8 touches. Absolutely explosive. His time is now. I think the fact that we haven't been picking him up, the fact that he hasn't gotten over 50% to point shows that people just aren't paying attention. Please take advantage of that. This is Chase Edmonds' backfield. This is the way to go. Moving on to our wide receivers. We have a couple that we wanted to cover. First off is Henry Ruggs from your Las Vegas Raiders. Still feels weird saying that. This is the guy they wanted to bring to stretch the field, someone that they wanted to keep up with the speed of the Chiefs, and he did not disappoint. 72-yard touchdown, put him over 100 yards. His target share has been spotty at best, but once he gets the ball in his hands, he is absolutely explosive. They're lining him up in a lot of different places. They're getting him upfield. This is that guy who doesn't need a ton of touches to put up those numbers. I think he's going to be a huge boost for this team, especially when Edwards comes back. I think those two are going to add up to be a great wide receiver tandem. At 48.6%, I expect that to go up with the 72-yard touchdown, but go ahead and grab him. The next one that we had was right here. Mr. Mike Williams. Big Mike Williams put on a show. Absolute show. We had Keenan Allen go down with the back injury. Mike Williams stepped up. He was making contested catches. He was getting up the field. He was doing everything that you want Mike Williams to do. This kid, when he is healthy and getting the ball, is an absolute star. We're not going to get a lot, I don't think, about Keenan Allen's back injury because the Chargers are on a bye. So you might be able to get this guy on your roster with people not taking a look at him because he's not playing for a week. But 5 catches, 109 yards, 2 touchdowns, high pointing the ball all over the place. This is going to be an absolute monster game for him. Yep, did have a little tweak there. I'm not too worried about that. Haven't seen anything come back on that yet. Again, we're talking 2 weeks out, but grab him now. Even if Keenan Allen comes back, even if he's going to sit a game or two, that is the Mike Williams experience. He's going to get dinged. When he plays, he's going to put up numbers, and he's just sitting out there for free. 34.6% ownership. Again, I don't think that's going to jump up a ton as he's on bye. But I think he's someone who needs to be on your roster. And Bo here, of course, yeah, Mike Williams, that is literally the Mike Williams experience. Couple tweaks here, misses a game, comes back. But when he's on the field, you always want him on your roster. He's that Will Fuller type that he's going to put up numbers whenever he steps on the field. Now, this next one absolutely was breaking my heart earlier in the year when we look at tight ends. I drafted Austin Hooper in the fishbowl, hoping to take advantage of that tight end premium scoring, hoping to see that Baker was going to look at him. They spent a ton of money on him, and honestly, in the first 3 weeks, he was hot garbage. But the last 2 weeks, we're seeing his usage starting to go up, and I'm ready to hang with Mr. Hooper again. 17 targets in the last 2 games. 5 catches in each game, double-digit points in 2 straight. This is the low-end tight end one I was expecting. I mean, this is an absolute wasteland of a position. You're looking for opportunity. You are looking for somebody who can put up anything that even resembles double digits on a regular basis. And all of a sudden, Austin Hooper is that guy. I drafted soft when I took Austin Hooper. I made some big mistakes. I was called out by one of the legends of the game. But I think this one's going to pay off. I think he's going to be huge. And the person that I didn't take that is touted all the time, Mr. Mike Gesicki, I think I have Hooper over Gesicki by a considerable amount for the rest of the way. I think Baker's finally figured out how to use this guy. I'm expecting good things. I would say somewhere from tight end 7 to 10 for the rest of the year. And the second one that I have on the list is Mr. Robert Tonyan. It is as if people just forget that players exist when they go on by. This kid has scored in 3 straight games. The last time he stepped on the field, you got 6 catches on 6 targets for 98 yards and 3 touchdowns. And he's at 48.6% rostered. That is an absolute joke. I would love to hear from those other teams that don't have him rostered, the 51.4% of them, who they could possibly have at tight end that they feel comfortable with that is better than Tonyan. He is getting the looks. He is getting the red zone targets. He is everything that you could possibly want in a tight end. Has the quarterback, has only Devontae Adams when he comes back to compete with for targets on the outside. Aaron Jones at running back. He's the third option at worst when this team is healthy. He is a stud, somebody you want on your team, somebody that we have been touting for quite a while now and still can't get that rostership up at 75+% where it belongs. This is somebody you want to grab. I would put him right below Hooper, but it's awfully close for me. Again, that 7 to 10 range, this is a volatile position, a lot of range of outcomes, but this is somebody that has to be on every roster right now. Even if you have Kelsey, Kittle, Andrews, get him as your backup. He'll be flex worthy with these bye weeks coming up. Get him on your team and get him rolling. So that covers our week 6 waiver wire pickups. As I said, tomorrow we'll be covering those post-waiver ads and smash plays, but this is what we have for this week. So get those fab picks in. I know with the Tuesday game, this is going to throw a lot of people off. Make sure you get the picks in. People are going to be off a bit, so make sure you don't miss out on the waiver claims. You have a lot that are going to run tonight, a lot that are going to run tomorrow afternoon. These are the players you should be working with. And I think that covers all the questions that we have for today. So with that, that's going to cover our waiver show. I want to thank you guys all for joining. Thank you for letting me intervene with your fantasy life. And don't forget to catch us tomorrow to see Fat Freddie Mercury as a fantasy analyst unveiling his mustache Wednesday, tomorrow night at 8 p.m. at FF Intervention. We're going live. We'll have DeBeezy B from the Undroppables come to join us. We will cover your post-waiver wire ads, your smash plays at flex, your outside the top 20 ESPN guys you want to get on your roster, and we'll also do a recap of week 5 for you. So listen, enjoy the game tonight, have fun with it, and we will catch you tomorrow for the Fantasy Intervention. Thanks for joining us.